Hi, I'm Maria Jimenez. I was in Section A, and throughout the semester in cinemetrics, I think what I learned the most was how to analyze the open hole or the matter flux around me, and how to be aware of what is going on around, in everyday life and in movies and art. And I think that was really helpful because it got me to see in a different way that we're not used to, which is just being aware of what's happening around you and seeing changes happen. I think it was really important at the start because I didn't know what cinemetrics really was about. And then while starting to study OSU and just seeing how a film director could make the viewer see the world the way that life changes throughout a camera, I think it was really important. And I remember from the first chapter of the book, one of the exercises that I did for the first week was exercise one, in which you were supposed to wake up every morning and notice change or things that were going on around you. And at first, I did this for I think it was like 10 days. I did it and I thought it was really hard at first because, I've been waking up in the same bed for a really long time and I've been here for the past like 3 years and a half. So it was hard to notice change when you're so, like your memory is so tainted by memory already. So that was the hardest part. And I noticed after the days had passed by that what was changing was my thoughts and the way that I was thinking about the space that I was at. So after I did that exercise, I actually thought, like, during the exercise, I actually documented the thoughts and wrote them down and took pictures with my phone, which is something that I have next to me when I sleep. So, like, the first thing I would do is just wake up and take a photograph and then record my thought in a piece of paper next to it. And what I ended up with was this exercise, which is something I basically just did to document it and for myself, which is every day sort of like the time that I was waking up and sort of like the first things that I thought about and the photographs of the first thing I noticed. And some of them are like actually like funny because you're noticing just different things like your thoughts and what you dreamt about and where you are and how you're disoriented, but then you kind of like orient yourself back into the place and the time that you're at. So after doing that, I started applying sort of the same philosophy of just looking within yourself for change. And me being in fine arts allows that to create a body of work, which I've been working on, which is about perception and how, you're so used to reading certain things in certain spaces. And then when you change that idea of where the space is, it changes the meaning completely. So then after doing that, I actually created this sort of like game project in which for that project I wrote a conclusion of how my perception was already tainted and how anything that I could notice was already my body and my own thinking what to think. And I came up with this like word sort of game in which I have words that were important to me, like memory. And I made these like sort of can objects in which to read you have to pick up the object and go around it. So then it changes the way that you're used to reading certain things. And I think I've been applying sort of that same um, premise to most of the work that I'm doing now. And how do you notice change and how things are different? Like I did a set of drawings in which you draw backwards and then the right way, and how long does it take you really to notice that, like when something is backwards. And to me it was something that is very innate because I've been writing backwards all my life. But like these, like right now in the camera it looks the way it's supposed to, but it really is the other way around. And well, I've been working with that, but I think it was really important to do that. So when we actually did the exercises, the first exercise, the OSU, in which we had a still camera and we were documenting the space within the school, me and my group, we chose to do the dance studio, like a rehearsal studio for a play that they were putting on. And it was really interesting just to be there because it's a place that I didn't know before. And we documented with two cameras and how the space changed throughout the rehearsal. Like the rehearsal was so long; they're like I think like 3 hours. So just by us being there, it changed like the dynamic of how they were working, and it was very interesting to see like how the people were changing the space itself to moving tables by dancing, by activating the space that they were already in, which is a space that normally it's never used. It's only used for like dance rehearsals. And I think for us it was really important to see that, like, to leave a still camera and just see all these bodies and forms moving around it. I think that that was what really made it clear what Ozu was talking about and how to analyze the space and like the perception image and the affection image of how people react to like a long period of exercise and having the pressure that the rehearsal and the play was opening in a few weeks. So I think it was very interesting. Then for the second project that we did, the Godard, I think it was more. I mean, it was very liberating to be able to actually like move the camera and being able to follow someone instead of just having all the action happen within a frame. But I think the most interesting part for us was the use of color, the same as Godard, and having the primary color being the focus of what you were filming, and how does that change the viewer, and how they can be aware of who the person is just because of a color, or how that changes like in your own mind the philosophy of what you're looking at. We did a project that was in the park. I was in this project, and we were I took my puppy to the park, and then I was wearing this really bright blue pants, and we had the Jimeno, my puppy, like interact with other dogs, and he really doesn't like it. So it was just kind of like a stroll of how people go to the parks and just nobody meets nobody. Like there's this little interactions like within the dog park. Like you talk to other dog owners, and that's about it. But everybody's within their own little world in their mind, and I think it was interesting to see that, and then having this focus really helped in other things, knowing that if you use a hint of a certain color in various different places, it becomes sort of like a timeline, and you can be able to follow that sort of narration throughout the aesthetic of what you're looking at, which is, I think, really important. So for the third project, for the Casavetes, I think it was a little harder for us to just like have the sensory motor breakdown, have something be spontaneous instead of really acted. Because coming from doing the Godard, I think that was a very planned out and sort of like it was in any instant, whatever. But at the same time, you could have sort of like a script of what was happening. And then for the Casavetes, it was something that you could have like scripted, but at the same time, having the sensory motor breakdown being something that is very just like real. And I think that's part of like the way that the project was supposed to be. So with my group, we decided to film the entrance of the Parsons building. And we thought about it because I think it has happened to all of us that go to Parsons, that you forget your ID or something happens in the openings of the door that you just can't get through, and there's like an alarm going on, and it's a moment in which you don't know how to react. It disorients of what you're doing. You're coming in, you're ready to go to class, you're already late or something, and then you just can't get through that door because you can't find your card, or something's going wrong with it, and like the doors close on you, and I don't know, I think it's frustrating, and I think we wanted to show that. And that's what we did. We just went to the Parsons building, and just by being there, I mean, we got someone to do it for us and see how they're carrying a lot of stuff, and like then their sort of like mindset gets interrupted by these things that they haven't planned. But at the same time that we were doing it, it happened to so many people around us, and I think that was really interesting to actually show something that is real, and it happens all the time, and I'm sure like a lot of people can tell you that it happens to them every day, and it's so frustrating, and you don't know what to do. But at the same time, I think it's really important to notice those things because, I mean, I just think in life there's a lot of things that, you're really your mindset into doing something, and then you get interrupted, and you have to like reset yourself back to what you're doing. And I thought that was really important to actually document. So, I mean, throughout the whole semester, I think we've studied different sort of changes within, I mean, just looking in film, but this is sort of things that you can apply to anything else that you're doing, or just life in general, like to be able to notice these things and these changes around you and not go through life being blinded and just, thinking that that's the way it is, but it's not. There's little changes that are happening all the time, and you need to be adapted to them. And I think that has been really important, and for my work as well.